Hey, how you doing? My name is Chris. Welcome to my shop. Quickly today, I've got a couple things I want to do. Several things, actually. The first of which I want to do is I want to actually recap a video I did quite some time ago when I was doing that series on how to mix and make your own homemade wood finishes. I talked about a process in one of those videos that I never got a chance to show because the video was getting to be quite lengthy. So I want to show you the results of doing what I was talking about in that video anyway today. Maybe that'll be something you'll find useful. I also want to talk to you about a present that I got from my brother. My family and I got together in Rhode Island, and we haven't been together in like 14 years, and his wife actually picked this out, and he got it for me. But I want to pass this along because I'm going to recreate this in an upcoming video for you. And for you folks that do craft sales, from what I understand and have been told, these things sell, I don't want to say like hotcakes, but you can sell a lot of them, so you may want to be interested in that. And I've also got some quick tips that I can pass along for you today that I hope you'll find useful. So if you're into it, stick around, and we'll get into it next. All right, let's just jump right into it. A while back I did a video on how to mix and make your own shellac and use that as a wood finish. I talked about a process that I wasn't able to display to you in that video where people who use shellac a lot, this is a very common thing to do. They apply a clear coat of shellac, then they apply a colored coat of shellac, and then they apply a different finish coat over the top of it, which is a clear. It's known as clear color clear. And it does some things to wood that may surprise you. The wood that I'm going to be using today is nothing more than a piece of veneered plywood. It's veneered in white oak. Now, I'm going to tell you off right at the bat, I'm using a garnet shellac in this video. And garnet is not my go-to choice for white oak. It's a much better choice for red oak. But you don't, whether you like this finish or don't like it, doesn't really matter. The process is what I want you to take a look at. Where this video starts, I've already applied the clear coat. I didn't film that, sorry. I've already applied the clear coat of shellac, given it a light sanding with 220, and I'm now going to show you applying the garnet shellac over the top of that. What I want you to pay close attention to is watch what happens to the grain of this wood. On this beat up piece of plywood I've been using as an outfeed table for my table saw. So here, take a look. Now here I'm just finishing it up at the very end here so you can see the differences. And I also did 220 sanding in between after that. It cured and dried. And I'm using now the clear coat. And the clear coat I'm using is General Finishes Armor Seal. That's a test piece that I'm showing you so we can give you kind of a before and after look on how this thing is going to turn out and what the differences are in the color and actually the depth of the look of the piece. If you look at the final result of that, and I'll show that to you right now. The differences are pretty dramatic. And now, once again, I'm going to tell you, this is not my favorite color finish to use on white oak. I think it's a little too orange. But on red oak, this stuff really pops. But whether you like this finish or don't like it is not the point I'm trying to make here. I'm trying to make the point of the process of using a clear color clear process using shellac and what it actually does do to the wood. So let me give you a look. I'll show you a piece of actually a piece that was cut off of this plywood, so it's the same wood. I'll show you what that looks like without any of the shellac treatment, what the shellac treatment did, and then what it looked like just beforehand. All right, let's start out with what the wood actually looked like to begin with. And as you can see here, this is just the raw oak veneer plywood that I began with. Now, I used the same process in sanding and applying the finish as I did with the shellac. And this is the piece of oak without that shellac treatment. This is the oak with that shellac, the clear color clear process. I think you can see a difference. And the difference in person, I don't know if that showed up on camera or not, is actually really dramatic compared to what it once was to what it is now. The biggest difference, and I don't know that the camera picked this up or not, is if you use this process on a piece of wood, not only does it really pop the grain of the wood, especially on oak, but it increases the depth of the finish, if you know what I mean. It's almost like you can look into the finish, as opposed to having a finish that doesn't let you do that. That doesn't bring the grain out and show the 3D kind of look that a lot of people are looking for when they're finishing a piece. So It's just a really cool process, and if you're just getting into woodworking, you're just starting woodworking, at some point in time, you're going to become interested in finishes, either out of necessity or just because you think it's cool. I happen to think finishes are just awesome, the things that you can do with them and the looks that you can get. And this is just one example of what shellac can do. And so I wanted to make sure I showed that to you so that you could see what I was talking about in that previous video. If you haven't seen that video on shellac, I'll leave a link down below. But yeah, clear, color clear. Killer process if that's the kind of look you're going for. Okay, and for you people that do craft fairs or are thinking about doing craft fairs, I promise you something. So let me show you that in a second. But what I want to say about this is, if you do craft shows for, if you've done them in the past, this is going to be a no-brainer for you. You're going to go, oh yeah. But for the rest of you who may be thinking about doing a craft show for the first time or something, maybe something to consider, because I think the deal with craft shows is, when you go to them, is you want your cost into the pieces you're going to sell as low as you possibly can keep them, and then have, obviously, your price as high as you possibly can sell them. And that's the way you make money, and whatever doesn't sell doesn't hurt so bad. In this case, we're probably looking at $2, $2.50 in hardware and a piece of scrap wood in your workshop. And I'll show you what my brother and my sister-in-law, Kathy, I love you, gave me when I met them in Rhode Island, and it was this. And I don't know if you can read what the wording is on this, but the wording on this is what sells the piece. And if you can come up with clever phrases and things of that nature to put on your piece that you want to sell at a craft fair, it'll sell even faster than just a piece of wood with a bottle opener on it. This one happens to say, "In dog beers, I've only had one." My sister-in-law knows me. But this is awesome. I love this. I'm going to keep this like forever. But next week, I'm going to try to recreate this and put my twist on it. And since I already have this and already love this, I'm going to keep this. And whatever I make next week, I'll just go ahead and give it away to one of you guys. But it's an idea. If you're doing craft shows, your initial cost and the time you're going to actually have to spend making this thing, minimal. And you could probably sell these, from what I understand, these sell from anywhere between $25, $30, $35 at craft shows. So if you're doing craft shows, $2, maybe $5 investment at the most, a little bit of your time, $30 return, might be an idea. All right, the last thing I want to show you today is this. And I've resisted showing this just because I didn't think anybody would be interested. But everybody who's ever come visit me at my shop has said, "You should do a video on that. You should do a video on that." I just didn't think there'd be enough widespread interest in it, so I'll do this instead. Unless, of course, somebody needs to see exactly how it's made, then, we'll talk. This is, in case you don't know, is a tripod dolly. It's a homemade tripod dolly that I made out of 3/4-inch plywood, some Luan, and some hardware, and 3 casters. Starting out with a triangle, drilling 3 holes, cutting the length of the scrap plywood I had to the necessary length for the tripod legs I have, and adding some stop blocks for full extension, mid extension, and as short as my tripod will go. I added a hook to the middle of it because the bungee cord connects to this and then connects to the bottom of the tripod, which holds it in place. If you give me a second, I'll move the camera back and I'll show you how this thing works. Okay, now as I know I'm doing this, I know that I'm only going to be appealing to video creators, but I've been asked so many times, I figured I'd go ahead and show it to you. The tripod sits on there like that. The bungee cord that I had was a little too long, so I tied a knot in it. It just hooks onto the hook here, and then it hooks onto the hook that's in the bottom of my tripod. And now I can move my tripod anywhere I want to. And it's just using cheap casters and some cut off 3/4-inch plywood. If you want to, go back to when I had a close-up of it, take a look at it, and I'm quite sure you can make one for yourself. If you're doing videos, it's kind of helpful, because I get really tired of picking the tripod up and moving it around, but just throwing it on here and to be able to throw it where I want to, it really helps out. So there you go. I tell you what, if you can't go back on this video and pause it to take a look at how that thing is made, and you can't figure it out on your own, let me know, and I guess when I get enough scrap 3/4-inch plywood, I'll make another one and show you exactly how to do it. But you really shouldn't need that. Just go back, pause it, take a look at it. Sure, you can figure it out on your own. It's just not that hard of a project. But like I said, if you're having difficulty, let me know, and I'll see if I can help you out. That's what I'm here for. That's pretty much what I have for you this week. I hope that something I passed along today was at least helpful to you. I'll have a project for you next week. I'm looking forward to that. But until then, you guys take care. Get out in your shops, go make that first cut, and get something done. I'll talk to you later.